Liber CDLI 451, Eroto-Comatose Lucidity, the chapter of Eroto-Comatose Lucidity in Liber 415 de Arte Magica, written 1914. The candidate is made ready for the ordeal by general athletic training, and by feasting. On the appointed day he is attended by one or more chosen and experienced attendants, whose duty is A. to exhaust him sexually by every known means, B. to rouse him sexually by every known means. Every device and artifice of the courtesan is to be employed, and every stimulant known to the physician. Nor should the attendants reck of danger, but hunt down ruthlessly their appointed prey. Finally, the candidate will go into a sleep of utter exhaustion, resembling coma, and it is now that delicacy and skill must be exquisite. Let him be roused from this sleep by stimulation of a definitely and exclusively sexual type, yet, if convenient, music wisely regulated will assist. The attendants will watch with assiduity for signs of waking. In the moment these occur, all stimulation must cease instantly, and the candidate be allowed to fall again into sleep. But no sooner has this happened than the former practice is resumed. This alternation is to continue indefinitely until the candidate is in a state which is neither sleep nor waking, and in which his spirit, set free by perfect exhaustion of the body, and yet prevented from entering the city of sleep, communes with the Most High and the Most Holy Lord God of its being, maker of heaven and earth. The ordeal terminates by failure, the occurrence of sleep invincible, or by success, in which ultimate waking is followed by a final performance of the sexual act. The initiate may then be allowed to sleep, or the practice may be renewed and persisted until death ends all. The most favorable death is that occurring during the orgasm, and is called mors justi. As it is written, "Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his." It's April 18th, 2021, 12:46 p.m. I'm going to read Liber CDXV, or 415, Opus Lutetianum, or the Paris Working, AA publication in Class AB. The book of the high magic art that was worked by Frater OSV 6.5 and Frater LT 2.9, January through February 1914, EV. This is document C in the account of the progress of Nemo to Megatherion. This is the preliminary account of this operation of magic art. Sol in Libra, Anno 9, 1913, Frater OSV. Note, Ol Sonuf Veo Resigai, I reign over ye in Enochian. Crowley's motto is 5-6. Accomplished the task laid upon him by the Great White Brotherhood by issuing number 10 of Volume 1 of the Equinox. By issuing number 10 of Volume 1 of the Equinox. Thereby, he being brought to the end of his resources, he bethought himself to pray unto the great gods of heaven, that they would bestow favor upon him. For even as did Job, he cursed not God at all, that he might make a new sacrifice unto the magnum opus. Now there appeared Frater Lampada Tradam, Victor Neuberg, having passed through the ordeal of a neophyte to undertake the task of a zealator, as by his oath bound. Also for months 18 had Frater OSV been initiated by Frater M. Theodore Royce into the greater mysteries, and been by him induced into the throne of the Order of the Temple. Moreover, it is fitting to reconstitute this order, OTO, in its splendor, for at the entry of Sol into Aries, Anno 10, is the 600th anniversary of the martyrdom of JBM, Jacobus Burgundus Molensis, Also, a casual invocation of Pan by these brethren had produced a great marvel. All these things, therefore, tending thereto, let us take up the work with piety and zeal, and in holy charity and great chastity of body and soul. Amen. Thus, therefore, to the glory of the ineffable one of the dove and of the serpent, did these two brethren begin their working. First, from 455 to 535, did I confess myself, even I, Frater OSV 6.5, receiving the sacrament from a certain priest, A.B., Art Bachelor Walter Durante, and being thereby much comforted did I set myself to the painting of the prime pantacle of this book. Therein busied came inspiration unto me from the Most High, and this is the consideration, that though Pan be the master of this work, yet is the work not without wisdom divine, and that Hermes is rightly the god of this particular operation of magic art. Therefore, say I, let Hermes first be invoked, and that by the right, and by this incantation which I made with my friend the Art Bachelor W.D., Jungeter and Vati Vates, Rex inclite Rabdon, Hermes tu Venius, Verba nefanda ferens. Approximately, jointly the bard and the bard, O famous king of the wand, Hermes, mayest thou come bearing unspeakable words. The first working. Wednesday, December 31st, 1913, EV. At 11:40, therefore, did I duly open the temple, invoking also Thoth by the Egyptian formulae, and upon the stroke of midnight did the first words and acts of the Ascendant strike on the Akasa. Then immediately did Mercury manifest in his first form, as it is written in Liber Ererita 1.8. Thou hast appeared to me as a young boy, mischievous and lovely, with thy winged globe and its serpents set upon a staff. Astrally the temple was full of thousands of flashing caduci of gold and yellow, the serpents alive and moving, Hermes bearing them. But so young and so mischievous was he, that the sacrifice, a sexual act, was impossible. This also we learnt, that at the Ascendant the ceremony is to be forgotten altogether, and to be resumed with equal suddenness at the first word of the mantra or versicle, and the excellence of this control is the agent evoking. Then closed the temple at 1:40 a.m. di Jovis, thinking to renew the rite in the evening. Then closed the temple at 1:40 a.m. di Jovis, thinking to renew the rite in the evening, in the hope of obtaining Hermes in his next phase, and blessing and worship to the Holy One, the Lord of the Serpent and the Dove. Amen. The second working. This next invocation of Mercury was done with a new-made image of the god in the east, a terminal phallic figure in yellow wax, very beautiful, made that day by Frater OSV. He also used these invocations. At the limits of the night, and this, O light and light, before the majesty of Godhead. The temple was opened at 11:20 p.m. on the first day of the vulgar year. The versicle began at 11:40 and ended at 11:55 circa. Immediately, Frater LT completely lost control, although a man of some education, degraded himself and dispersed the holy invoked prana by defacing this volume with the meaningless scrawls opposite. Note not available. Declaring them to be the inspiration of Thoth, which were unworthy even of his ape. In this way a great part of the virtue of the rite was lost. Some results were, however, obtained, and these were recorded in the esoteric account of this working. The temple was closed at about 2 o'clock of the forenoon of Friday. The esoteric record of the second working. The god Hermes having been invoked, according to the secret rites, as elsewhere recorded, Frater LT proceeded to answer the demands as follows. Question: OSV, are we working right? Answer: LT, no. Question: what's wrong? Answer: the time and, to a less extent, the place. Question: what is the right time? Answer: 3 hours before dawn. Question: does this apply to Mercury alone or to all the gods? Answer: to Mercury alone. Question: are we to invoke Mercury again? Answer: yes. Question: tomorrow? Answer: no. Question: when then? Answer: on the day of the full moon. Question: what god shall we invoke tomorrow? Answer: Thoth. Question: but Thoth is Mercury. Answer: you will get another aspect. Question: shall we not use the same versicle? Answer: it does not matter. Question: shall I make statues of all the gods? Answer: no. Question: shall I make tablets of all the gods? Answer: yes. Question: plain tablets with the versicles? Answer: no. Question: what tablets? Answer: tablets with the names only. Question: in what order shall we invoke the gods? Answer: the proper order is Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Luna, Sol. Question: will he help in geomancy? Answer: yes. Question: and also in the conduct of affairs? Answer: in some, not in all. Question: in business? Answer: in some business. Question: what? Answer: books, money, love. Question: how can we invoke Mercury better? Answer: use a golden pentagram, placing the same in a prominent position. Drink yellow wine and eat fish before the ceremony. Let the clock be removed. Question: can you suggest any improvements in the ceremonies, especially that of Jupiter? Answer: scarlet and silver should be worn. In the crown OSV, LT is to wear the scarlet robe. Violets are to be strewn and trodden with bare feet. Question: give a distinct proof of your presence, appreciably by the intelligence of OSV. Answer: let the wand or one become 9. This is the sign of Priapus, but afterwards nothing. OSV: I understand and agree the proof. LT: shall I let him take full possession now? OSV: yes. LT: I am going. Yes. What do you want to know now? There are other things I can tell, or else ask me questions. OSV: tell. LT: you will receive good news in respect of money on the 11th of January in the forenoon. Frater LT will be concerned with it. It will be quite unexpected. Money will be given by someone to whom LT introduced OSV. A change in OSV's affairs in February. OSV: I am going to ask a very important question. Concentrate hard. NCGMHD. This question inquires as to when the speaker shall attain the grade of Magus. LT: LP. L is 50 and P is 6. OSV: 56 what? LT: I don't know. Wait, hours? I am not quite sure, but it is connected with time. LT: the ceremonies should be done every other night. The Frater then changed functions. OSV: the god has appeared to me in his character as a messenger, but as a robust adult, rather than a slim youth. He has the winged helmet and sandals, and bears a caduceus of gold. Frater LT confirms this description in every respect. OSV: hear the words which I bear through the ambient air. The Father of all hath girt himself with a many-colored robe. The Father of all hath spilt his seed on galaxy and globe. The formation of nebulae is like the bursting of the seed pods of flowers. These are not his words, but it is his meaning. I can't get his words at all. What we call light, he calls wind. Our highest spiritual experiences are what he calls light. That is why one gets the phenomenon of the opalescent universe, so to call it, in the sacrament of the 9th degree. It is most important, never mind about that. All this is the key to the meaning of the Latin invocation in the vision of the universal Mercury, which I have never understood. Memo, obtain a copy and confirm this. We shall shortly be given someone who will be of great help to us in our working. LT now wished to ask questions. LT, when will the reconciliation of which I am thinking take place? OSV, there is no real enmity. It is a mere tiff or misunderstanding. LT, when will the pressure of which I am thinking be relieved? OSV, the answer to both these questions is death, but I don't know in what sense. LT, will the most important prediction of December be fulfilled? OSV, better than you think. LT, when? OSV, it is imminent. LT, conventionally? OSV, like the sword of Damocles, it impends always, but may never fall. The answer, however, that I get is 3 months. LT, satisfactory? OSV, I haven't got that. I want to lie here and see Mercury. It seems that Hermes is my particular deity at present. The golden sparks of which the universe is composed are shot with silver lightnings. In his next aspect he should reveal to us a great deal of the inner meaning of this particular rite. In the beginning was the Word, the Logos, who is Mercury, and is therefore to be identified with Christ. Both are messengers, their birth mysteries are similar, the pranks of their childhood are similar. In the vision of the universal Mercury, Hermes is seen descending upon the sea, which refers to Mary. The crucifixion represents the caduceus, the 2 thieves, the 2 serpents. The cliff in the vision of the universal Mercury is Golgotha. Maria is simply Maya with the solar R in her womb. The controversy about Christ between the Synoptics and John was really a contention between the priests of Bacchus, Sol, and Osiris, also perhaps of Adonis and Attis, on the one hand, and those of Hermes on the other. At that period, when initiates all over the world found it necessary, owing to the growth of the Roman Empire and the opening up of means of communication, to replace conflicting polytheisms by a synthetic faith. This is absolutely new to me, this conception of Christ as Mercury. Some difficulty about the ... This sentence is now quite unintelligible. To continue the identification, compare Christ's descent into hell with the function of Hermes as guide of the dead. Also, Hermes leading up Eurydice, and Christ's raising up Jairus' daughter. Christ is said to have risen on the 3rd day, because it takes 3 days for the planet Mercury to become visible after separating from the orb of the sun. It may be noted here that Mercury and Venus are the planets between us and the sun, as if the Mother and the Son were mediators between us and the Father. Note Christ as healer, and also his own expression, the Son of Man cometh as a thief in the night, and also the scripture, Matthew 24:7, for as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Note also Christ's relations with the money changers, his frequent parables, and the fact that his first disciple was a publican. Note also Mercury as the deliverer of Prometheus. 1/2 of the fish symbol is also common to Christ and Mercury. Fish are sacred to Mercury, owing presumably to their quality of movement and cold-bloodedness. Many of Christ's disciples were fishermen, and he was always doing miracles in connection with fish. Note also Christ as the mediator. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. And Mercury as Chokmah, through whom alone we can approach Kether. The caduceus contains a complete symbol of the gnosis. The winged sun or phallus represents the joy of life on all planes from the lowest to the highest. The serpents, besides being active and passive, Horus and Osiris, and all their other well-known attributions, are those qualities of eagle and lion respectively, of which we know but do not speak. It is the symbol which unites the microcosm and the macrocosm, the symbol of the magical operation which accomplishes this. The caduceus is life itself, and of universal application. It is the universal solvent. It is quite easy to turn quicksilver into gold on the physical plane, and this will soon be done. New life will flow through the world in consequence. The god now lays his caduceus upon my lips for silence, bidding me only remember that on the following night he is to come in another form. The temple was then closed. Promises to pay have quite replaced gold. Written out from 12:45 to 2:30 p.m. to 1:14. The third working. Friday, January 2nd, 1914, EV. The temple was opened at about midnight. The clock had been purposely removed. At 12:27 a.m. Die Saturni, the Quia Patris was ended. During the versicle, Frater OSV approached the state of ecstatic possession, seeing the triple cross of the Grand Aerophants, and then Hermes himself, comprehending also that the TTB were the twin serpents that writhe upon his wand. But, mastering the tendency, the versicle was quietly concluded. A great deal of information and counsel was thus obtained, the full account of which is in the esoteric record. The temple was closed at 2:15 a.m. In the morning, the suggestion of OSV that LT should arise, move, and appear to transcribe the record led to 2 fine fights, a sign of the excess of magical force developed. During the previous day, the Art Bachelor WD came with what may prove to be good news of 2 matters, both of a Jupiterian nature. Also came a letter promising a valuable introduction. The esoteric record of the third working. Die Saturni 1:58 a.m. Hermes as force. LT. He is essentially phallic, but he has a book in his hand, the book 2, which has 106 pages. On the last page, as a colophon, is a 4-pointed star, very luminous, and this is to be identified with the eye of Sheba, and the book pertains to the grade of 7-4. The subtitle of the book is BIA, or Baya, which is said to mean force. Every drop of semen which Hermes sheds is a world. The technical term for this semen is Kratos. Those worlds are held in chains, but invisibly. People upon the worlds are like maggots upon an apple. All forms of life bred by the worlds are in the nature of parasites. Pure worlds are flaming globes, each a conscious being. Number of worlds ejected, 7,482,135. The name of the phallus is Thoth, Hermes, or Ma. Ma is the god who seduced the phallus away from the yoni, hence the physical universe. All worlds are excreta. They represent wasted semen. Therefore, all is blasphemy. This explains why man made God in his own image. The feminine side of Ma is Pan, which explains why Pan is a devil. The only way to be really born is by annihilation, to be born into chaos, where Pan is the savior. I may say no more because the process is secret. With regard to Genesis, when Adam died, Heva, or Eve, became masculine in order to escape the temptations of the serpent, but she failed. Her failure cut the serpent in 2,
hence the caduceus. Because if there were only one serpent, Hermes could not be a messenger of the gods. It is the quality of this serpent business that gives him power to travel. This again is blasphemy, but lawful because the law of the Jews is founded upon it. It is the fixed Mercury, of which the physical form of the god is made. This fixed Mercury is the result of the mind. Semen itself is Mercury, the river of life flowing throughout the generations. That is fluid Mercury. What is, from the point of view of life, waste, is knowledge. Hence the opposition between knowledge and life. One is homo and the other heterosexuality. Those are reconciled in Mercury, who is wisdom. OSV. I am making a silent prayer to the god in thanksgiving. You can get magic force from either women or men, but to use the former is more dangerous to the career of the magician, and there is the danger of impregnation, which, however, can be guarded against in the obvious way. In order to get this god more perfectly, a cock should be slain in his honor, and the blood drunk as a sacrament. The throat of the cock should be cut over the great image that is upon the altar. The image should be placed in a vessel so as to catch the blood. He should be invoked on 8 consecutive nights, beginning with Wednesday. He says we should feed in greater abundance. He will protect us. There is a gate to knock down between us and mastery of the universe, and Frater LT has a vault, which is introspection. The point is that he is a man of thought rather than of action. OSV has also faults. His chief fault is contradiction. Whenever he gets into a state of hopelessness, he may renew his strength by this rite, and this will be good for always. It is remarkable that this actually occurred in May 1915. In July 1916, EV. OSV had forgotten the divine injunction, but the sudden change from dryness to herbility was extremely well marked. OM. The nature of this god is to go blindly ahead. The semen that he sheds is kether and not his own. He is only responsible for ejecting it, and he cares not what may come to it. He despises intensely all these correspondences, identifications, and the like. He despises intelligence, for he is the supreme wisdom. So fully in accord with destiny that interpretation is beneath him. If we need pure magical force, he is to be invoked. He says that tomorrow night we are to ask questions by geomancy without doing any rite. We are to invoke Jupiter on Monday. Had it not been that we first invoked him, we could not invoke Jupiter successfully. We shall probably have to invoke Jupiter for 4 nights running, reaching a climax on Thursday. We shall get not so much information as aid from Jupiter. It is very important to have banquets. LT. Will he help to this end? OSV. He doesn't know and doesn't care. He says, don't be such an ass as to think how you are going to do a thing, just do it. The man in the parable who counted the cost had the slave spirit. He also says that in the rites of Luna and Venus, OSV should have a woman, in that of Luna, a menstruating woman. He refuses to tell me when I am to have this woman. He says it is a question of common sense. He says, do it, don't ask me about it. I am now lost in contemplation of him in his great aspect of vehicle of the energy of the highest. He is that which fertilizes the luminiferous ether, the strain in it that produces what is called matter. He is the creative energy of the artist, in particular, and one should invoke him unless one wants an holy act before the world. This was done at the house of the lay sister J.C., the art bachelor W.D. was the victim, unless he wants the drawing room songs of Apollo. I see it all now. The virile force of Mars is far beneath him. All of the other gods are merely aspects of Jupiter formulated by Hermes. He is the first of the eons. He wants us not to invoke the other forms of Mercury. He says that we have more knowledge than we know what to do with. Julius Caesar did not know the Kabbalah, but he did better than the pair of you in the matter of husbands and wives. He, moreover, subdued Gaul and Germany, and would not have been killed if he had not gone to a talking shop. I am praying him to fill us with magic force for this invocation of Jupiter. He says it depends principally upon the banquets. This is the great preparation to make. And he says, "What fools to bother about the room. You don't think I am in the room, do you?" He wants us to overcome shame generally, and says, "There is no shame about me, is there?" He suggests an obvious method which I blush to repeat. The sense of humor of this god is very strong. He is not sentimental about his principal function. He regards the universe as an excellent practical joke, yet he recognizes that Jupiter is serious and the universe is serious, although he laughs at them for being serious. His sole business is to transmit the force from Jupiter, and he is concerned with nothing else. The message is life, but in Jupiter the life is latent. He says that we can do everything if we will only act as he does. He again exhibits his contempt for the art of conversation by making a suggestion with which, owing to the lateness of the hour, we comply only in symbolic form. 2:15 a.m. The fourth working, Monday, January 5th, 1914, EV. It now appears to OSV that the suggestion made by Hermes of a further sacrifice was meant to be obeyed. The attempt to replace the real thing by its symbol led to A. OSV having a bad cold which confined him to his bed, B. the continued ill temper of LT, and the breakup of the rendezvous proposed in the letter, D. the complete cessation of good news. However, this afternoon die Lune did the Frater LT sacrifice to the glory of Hermes, and may he restore us to favor and help in the work of Jupiter. Note, Crowley used a double PP in Jupiter for homosexual workings, whom therefore let us invoke by the secret rite in this holy versicle. Haud secus ac puerum spumanti semini vates, lustrat dum gaudens accipit alter aquas, sparge precor servis hominum rex actque deorum, Jupiter omnipotens aurea dona tuis. 9 o'clock. This then was done duly, though with maimed rites, owing to OSV's malady. Yet did he take the function of priest. The brethren remained conversing from 10 p.m., when the temple was closed, until about 1 a.m. die Martis, when LT, beholding Jupiter, saw this verse: Via est hodie, nomina sanctissimorum in felicitate habent viam, deus dedit signum in via. The way is today. The names of the most holy in felicity have the way. God gave a sign in the way. The fifth working, Tuesday, January 6th, 1914, EV. The temple was opened at about 9:30, the rite performed ut ordinateur, and the closing accomplished by 10:30. Deus adest, fatur, sparge verba opus fiat, hodie est verbum in nomine Dei, cras est opus, et postea obiti qui haec verba noscunt, ergo sum Deus hodie, aurea dona cras vobis feram, accipe Dei verba atque vobis bene erit, benignus sum in hominum mundo semper, dinde, phallam ejaculatum tibi feram in nomine patris, verbum tibi refert ad fraterm OSV, patris refert ad frater OSV in nomine. God is present, he says. Sprinkle words, let the work be done. Today is the word in the name of God. Tomorrow is the work. And afterwards, O blessed those who know these words. I am God today. Tomorrow I will bring you the golden gifts. Receive the words of God, and it will be well with you. I am benevolent always in the world of men. Then I will bear to you an ejaculating phallus in the name of the Father. The word refers to Brother OSV, similarly to the Father, in the name. P.S. The promise was very amply fulfilled. The sixth working, Wednesday, January 7th, 1914, EV. The temple opened about 9. The rite performed orally by OSV and the closing accomplished at 9:45. OSV thinks that LT has failed in due banqueting. The seventh working, Thursday, January 8th, 1914, EV. Hitherto, so far as we are aware, nothing great of the result of the operation of Jupiter is obtained. Yet tonight I feel more confidence than usual. I am in a highly nervous or electric state. My cold was better and I went for a very long walk and dined out. Am tired, excited, feverish. I think a slight relapse. Jupiter brings all to a good end. The temple opened about 10 o'clock. The rite being done ut ordinateur, we behold a universe of the most brilliant purple with golden stars, and Jupiter seated on his throne surrounded by 4 beasts upon thick clouds borne upon a phalanx of eagles. In the book 65, chapter 5, we find the passage 9 or 10, the passage 8 through 13. Subsequently, there appeared a great peacock, meaning, according to Frater LT, change, journeys, motion, excitement, improvement. Some word unknown. LHIKMOPILV. The peacock is now crowned and regards himself in a mirror. This word is summarized in breaking, i.e. of all old conditions. Frater LT connects this with the word of the equinox of Libra, Anno 9. The temple was closed about 11:20. Received several visitors, the art bachelor of WD, the fair demoiselle J.C., Jane Sharon, and the good knight, my brother-in-arms, Sir Lionel E. Kennedy. Sculptured a sacred phallus till nigh 2 o'clock. 4:15 a.m., die Veneri, a wonderful and repeated dream. I wake up, at last able to get down the truth I have long seen. Elfrida Tilliard, the beloved disciple of one Claire Bell, Lady Wolosky, figure in it. Mental images leave no trace when destroyed. Conservation of matter and energy are not paralleled by thought. I had kept on reducing symbols to the lingam and the yoni and thence destroying them, much to the expressed wonder and alarm of AET, Elfrida Tilliard. Of course, the lingam and yoni are only convenient standards of reduction. The point is that illusions destroyed leave no trace or effect, but merely vanish. As this process becomes general in one's life, it really diminishes one's universe. The bourgeois is subconsciously aware that this must result, and is therefore right in his own way in refusing to destroy even one illusion, and in persecuting those who shatter them. Also, there is only one right path. To either side leads not merely off, but to the abyss. I remember in my dream mimicking the bourgeois, a tiptoe marking time, trembling and blind. This idea was also presented in many other ways, intensely vivid, which now I forget. Moreover, as I wake myself thoroughly by writing this note, the lens of my intellectual comprehension of the great truth seems to dim, and I find myself fearing in the morning I should find the words obscure. The destruction of mental images is the only possible annihilation, is my dream idea. Famed among men shall become this thy scripture. LT. Will it be successful in its object? OSV. Yeah, verily and amen. The whole method is right, but we shall improve in details. LT's mental attitude should be more poetic. The Mass of the Phoenix on Tuesday depends entirely on the feeling of mental superiority thus induced. LT. Is there any message for OSV of a personal character? OSV. He will have news, perhaps even tomorrow morning, rather startling in character, to be included under the general heading of good. LT. Will LT get news? OSV. News is coming to him. LT. Good news? OSV. Soft news, like the body of a dove, from England. LT. Are the gods pleased with the ceremonies? OSV. Yeah, they rejoice exceedingly. This rite is to be the mainstay of the work. Anything can be obtained by this method. Suitable persons will present themselves for initiation into it. Women are not to be admitted, except in those rites where feminine gods are invoked. They must not be admitted to the invocations of male gods. LT. What is the immediate task? OSV. The fourfold invocation of Jupiter should have been performed 4 times. This week, however, it has been interfered with by the Mass of the Phoenix. You will, therefore, employ it in experiments invoking Priapus, Bacchus, Mars, unless you find suitable women. You must be very careful with Mars if you invoke him. If it is still necessary to invoke Jupiter, begin on Monday 4 times a week for 4 weeks. But why should it be necessary? Abramelin squares may be used as versicles. This, i.e. quasi-instrumentum gaudi, was the use of the child in the Abramelin operation. Respectability is the greatest of all blinds. The general key in reading ancient documents of a magical nature is to suspect the worst. OSV seems to get his fame all right, and this will leave him very peaceful. Any amount of news coming for both of us, but OSV has more than LT. The news is like parcels of dove's wings, of a delicate purple-gray or black goose quill. There is also news from the west of England, from Glasgow or its neighborhood, and from America. LT. Are any officers wanted? OSV. No. No one is to be initiated until after the public orgy. I am now seeing the purple and gray background as if the force were developing. Around those clouds flash forth violet rays in the indigo. In the center of all is the golden Mercury. Now he comes forward, kissing me on the mouth, laying his caduceus on my phallus. And he lifted up his voice, saying, Unto all kingdoms shall thou utter the word. Now he puts his tongue into my mouth. It is not like the tongue of a man, but of a serpent or an anteater. He runs it all over my brain, making the skull luminous, transparent, phosphorescent. Moreover, he spake winged words. I will give thee the wisdom, the serpent, but thou must cleanse thy brain. Purge thyself in the sun. It is the love of others that will purify thee most. This needest thou. The devotion absolute of men for and women for, and all these 4 men will be deformed, and these 4 women will come from the 4 quarters of the earth, the 4 continents whose names begin with A. Windrum, infantile palsy, Australia, LW. Newbury, spinal curvature, Asia, Ratan Devi. Varicocele, bent arm, Africa, Rose. Cowie, deaf and dumb, America, JF or Vircum. Kennedy, foot deformity. I see the most wonderful range of mountains with orange clouds of sunrise flaming upon them. Yet the crest of the mountain curls over as it rolls onward, like the crest of a wave. With 1 foot on his crest stands Mercury again, around him soft flames of orange and green and purple. And these words spake he from golden mouth. Thou art mine, thou comest always unto me. Always in every grade am I thy guide, and even at this hour do I burn up thy dust. Moreover, thou shalt behold a certain earnest of thy work, and that right early. This Mercury is poised upon a winged wheel that uttereth lightnings. He droppeth ostrich plumes for rank, and twists of flax to signify that the fate of certain men will be in my hands. I now see a purple planet in space, radiating light from a luminous ring, and also from its poles. With regard to reincarnation, the heliocentric theory is right. As we consider the conditions of a planet, we incarnate on the next planet inward until we return to the Father of all, when our experiences linked together become intelligible and star speaks to star. Terra is the last planet where bodies are made of earth. In Venus they are fluid, on Mercury aerial, while in the Sun they are fashioned of pure fire. It is most important to develop the fluid body, to pack away all your powers in it. He insists on the importance of a pure body, instancing Frater to Agathon as an example of a failure to do this. I now see the eightfold star of Mercury suddenly blazing out. It is composed of 4 fleur-de-lis with rays like antlers, bulrushes in shape between them. The central core has the cipher of the Grand Master, but not the one you know. Upon the cross are the dove, the hawk, the serpent, and the lion. Also one other symbol, yet secret. Now I behold fiery swords of light. All this is upon a cosmic scale. All the distances are astronomical. When I say sword, I have a definite consciousness of a weapon many millions of miles in length. The field of my vision is as much enlarged as if I had been practicing Batracho-Freno-Boo-Cosmomachia for 10 years. Now follow numerous questions of OSV to LT, indicated only by initials. The same question was asked repeatedly in different forms, but always answered in the same sense until the last question. LT. I have never seen such a lot of beautiful skyscapes. There are pink clouds like flights of birds, actually in flight. Now they are like flying serpents. Their colors are mingled with purple and green. Anhelonium visions must be very similar to this. It is all over now. He didn't go on because he had come to tell us things for a particular purpose. The temple was then closed. Frater Lampada Tradam was then clairvoyant as he thinks, or obsessed as OSV thinks, and makes the following statement, which OSV considers demonic, on the grounds that many of the statements are contrary to public morality. LT begins by saying that this rite is a huge force that we unloose. By the time that we have 20 people working at it, it will become very dangerous. International complications are to be feared. Note that the World War broke out just 6 months later. OSV. This was the original form of worship. It is important not to initiate any persons under the age of 30 unless for some special reason. The obvious dangers of the rite appall LT. He says that those who do adopt this rite will either succeed completely or fail utterly. There is no middle path, for it is impossible to escape the ring of divine karma created. In any series of rites, the roles of the celebrants should not be interchangeable. OSV is to be priest only in the invocations of feminine gods. The occult reason for this is that only the black gods are hermaphrodite. The exception to this rule is in the case of divine possession. The supreme rite would be to bring about a climax in the death of the victim. By this rite one would attain the summit of magical art. Even better would be to slay a girl, preferably a willing victim. After violating her, she should be cut into 9 pieces. Note, see below for Crowley's opinion that this portion of the record represents false or grossly defective material from some interfering evil. These should not be eaten, but divided as follows: head, arms, legs, and quadrisected trunk. The names of the gods appropriate are to be written on the skin. The arms are then to be flayed and burnt in honor of Pan or Vesta. The legs, treated in some manner, should be offered to Priapus, Hermes, or Juno. The right shoulder is sacred to Jupiter. Note here spelled with 1 P in contradistinction to the general practice of the record. The left buttock to Venus. The head should not be flayed but burnt simply, and that in honor either of Juno or Minerva. The right should not be employed on ordinary occasions, but rarely, and then for great purposes. It should not be disclosed to any man. In the opinion of OSV and LT, these instructions partake of the character of black or at least gray magic. The reader is requested to note that the temple had been formally closed before they were obtained. The following questions were then asked by OSV and answered by LT. Question: what will be the result of Yardley's mission? Answer: success on the whole, but not entirely. Question: shall I know soon? Answer: within 14 days, say 10 or 11. Hermes returns and kisses LT on lips, navel, and phallus. Question: will L get K's dances on? Answer: yes. Question: big success? Answer: yes. Question: how soon? Answer: within 3 months. LT will be released within 2 months from everything. He will get into a new stratum of karma. He is going away eastwards. In June he marries, but returns to the great work in September. P.S. All quite wrong without a single exception. Its conditions are quite altered, LT having acquired a great fortune. OSV goes away on a long journey to the east, leaving LT in charge. This results in serious trouble with regards to Krishnamurti. Let OSV not allow 493 to enter into Scorpio. OSV: what is 493? LT: connected with water and with creamers. It is she that stirs up strife. OSV: what is 493? Answer: it is connected with OSV's dealings with creamers. OSV has told her too much. Question: what is 493? Answer: a book of a mercurial nature stolen by creamers. Don't let that get into Scorpio. Energized enthusiasm which got into, the questioner in a fit of despair abandons the unequal contest. Creamers will either write to LT or communicate indirectly with him. P.S. All this is entirely wrong. Hermes now gives a gold ring to LT for OSV. The bezel of this ring is a ruby with a white fleur-de-lis on each side of it. The ring is gold. Opposite the ruby are the initials STR. This ring is the crown of the phallus, the yoni of Thoth, the collar of the ape of Thoth. Concerning the rites, OSV is always to be first to scry. LT is to write down in the scrying. LT is always to be the priest. These rites are never to be done in more than 6 successive nights. Note, evidently the rite of Mercury is exceptional, for it asks 8 nights, Wednesday to Wednesday. See above OM, and 4 is a better number. The rites should never begin earlier than 9 o'clock at night, and should never last longer than 3 hours and a half. These are the colors of certain gods: Priapus, yellow and purple; Eochus, scarlet and green; Venus, blue, white, and gold; Minerva, white and silver with a little dark blue; Pan, crimson. The floor should be white, but on festivals and special occasions black and white, or red and white squares. Further instructions will be given from time to time. Music may be employed in the rite, but in a subordinate manner. It should be soft and stringed. Celebrants of the rite should not be bareheaded, but should wear headdresses of white, or such other color as may be indicated. After 5 weeks, other directions will be given. Until then, work as aforesaid. I now see the figure drawn hereunder. Note not available at this time. It is familiar to OSV as the sign of a certain grade, and the name of it is STR. Hermes now touches LT's lips with his caduceus, and gives the last message to OSV. Beyond nothing is everything. He then kisses LT and departs. The 9th working. Monday, January 19th, 1914, EV. Die Sol, 11:45 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. A most admirable working, the best we have done for Jupiter. During OSV's invocation of Amun, his vibration of the divine name was echoed in second by a voice audible to the ear. Now then, fair omens, dexter, prosper ye the work. During the Quia Patris, Frater LT, at the altar of the east, being genuflected, beheld the colossal form of Jupiter our father, Manubis Plenus. Yea, with gold were his hands full. Praise unto our Father and our God. In the morning, Frater OSV awoke early, having, as hath only occurred to him once before, dreamed a story which he remembered. He therefore spent the day from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. in writing down this story which he called the Stratagem. May it bring fame and fortune. The Esoteric Record of the Ninth Working. Die Sol, January 19th, 1145. The rites of Jupiter were duly performed on this and the next 2 days. With regard to the ceremony of Wednesday, I have to add to the Esoteric Record that Frater OSV was at one time a consecrated prostitute in the Temple of the Sun at Agrigentum. This temple had a long square, 2x1 outer court. In the upper square was a square temple with facade and pillars. OSV, whose name was at that time Asteris or something similar, used to sit on the steps and receive sacrifices. I think the name was Astarte, but am afraid of having been rational. Asaria is the exact name of the great mother goddess in Tyre. I did not know this. I regard this as a story proof of the accuracy of the vision, OM. The great sacrifice of spring was to cut open a bull and lay a virgin in the hot carcass, there to be violated by the high priest. She was finally choked in the bull's blood in orgasmo. Within the temple was a circular domed shrine about 40 feet across. The priestesses used to carry their offerings to the altar of incense in the east, while the blood of the victims went to a big font in the west. The door of the shrine was in the north. In the south was a statue of the sun god of Assyrian type, rather more like Bacchus than Apollo. In the center was a light, movable couch, rather like one sees in pictures at Naples. It was used in the midnight ceremony to obtain oracles. The secret of the temple was the midnight sun. Globes of fire used to gather on the font and from the other altar and begin to revolve in the shrine. They would coalesce and then become one, which stood single and unmoving all night, only fading with dawn. Astarte surprised the secret, and penetrated into the shrine at the midnight sacrifice and adoration of this globe. She was slain instantly by the priests, who passed their swords again and again through her body. This death was extreme pleasure. The body was thrown out upon the court at the foot of the temple steps, and made taboo, so that it might be devoured by the sun. She had incurred this incarnation as the result of various misdemeanors in Greece about 100 years before. Her incarnations had always been at short intervals. It appears that in the beginning most people cannot bear frequent incarnations and need long restorative periods of rest and peace. But superior spirits take a greater oath and get on faster. They suffer more in proportion. You can recognize them by sensitiveness, which is sometimes in the painful or morbid degree. This is the case when the great work has been forgotten for an incarnation or a part of it. The idea is to impress the fact of the oath upon the sufferer. Astarte in her Grecian avatar had been a rather worldly priest. Her childhood was one of great misery. She had been taken by pirates and ill-treated. She came from Leghorn or its neighborhood. A shipwreck left her on the coast of Sicily. People found her, and finding her an excellent prostitute, she was now 14, put her in a brothel. She hated the life. At a spring festival, she was lucky enough to attract a young priest who took her, put her through a year's purification, and added her to the temple staff. But she only saw a dull routine, though applying herself to advancement in her profession by the skill of her embraces. However, by the age of 20 or thereabouts, she got religion, and began to act con amore. From this time she was rather the terror of the temple. She used to do strange things, excesses, record-breaking acts, and so on. In fact, she was a little mad, and had a touch of the sun, as it were. However, she got the name of being inspired now and then, and was used in some of the public ceremonies. She made a young priest fall madly in love with her on one such occasion, and they violated their vows by carnal copulation of an irreligious character. In this way she made him tell her the secret of the temple. She then killed him the same night, so that he should never betray the fact that he had betrayed the mysteries. She was a slim, lean, nervous girl with a long face, a Roman nose, rather full lips, very strong from constant exercise, a habit of wriggling as if consumed by an inward itch, abundant and very wiry black hair which she sometimes dyed, very strong and very sharp and white regular teeth, deep violet eyes, very wide apart and set obliquely like Chinese eyes. Her cheekbones were very high and her expressions fierce. Her breasts were quite undeveloped, and her body like a man's, or rather like a boy's. Her vulva was lean and muscular, and the nymphae hardly developed at all. Astarte was her temple name, her own was Felicia. Her parents were peasants, vine dressers, in winter woodcutters. This description is most strangely like a lost trail. The 10th working, Tuesday, January 20th, 1914. Die Martis, 11:30 p.m. Die Mercury, 12:15 a.m. The ceremony as usual. Frater OSV saw Jupiter in his form as Amon-Ra, plumed and phallic, standing in the east, during the verbal invocation of Amun. This became much intensified during the versicle. He lost all sense of the physical and was only recalled to it by its climax. Subsequently he heard, and so did Frater LT, clear and distinct astral bells. The 11th working. Wednesday, January 21st, 1914, EV. During the day the brethren were out of harmony, but conquered the feeling of animosity by will. A full banquet as ordained being consumed, the brethren repaired to the temple. Frater OSV opened the same at 11 p.m. Die Mercurii. To the side of OSV during the versicle, Amon-Ra appeared in the east, Jupiter himself filling the temple. This also appeared as a cone of white light whirling about the image of the All-One that is upon the altar of the elements. After the versicle, Frater LT obtained a message in angelic, to the effect that the gods wished to regain their dominion upon earth, these initiated brethren being as fiery arrows shot by them in their war against the slave gods. A fourfold sacrifice was demanded, and that a sacrifice of cruelty. Therefore did ... and ultimately hey pay hey. The temple was closed 1:45 a.m. Die Jovis. Frater LT still 1:55 lying entranced. The god is now effective, and with the single sacrifice on his night, early to close before midnight, will that equilibration of the 4 and the 7 be accomplished. Die Jovis 2 a.m. Frater LT says Tetelestai, NB, this is the formula of 7-4, thus making 4 either way, yet 7 in all, and on this third night forming the sacred Tau. During this working, Frater LT again heard the astral bells. Also concerning the sacrifices, it was revealed in the night, during the sleep of exhaustion, to Frater OSV that the essence of the operation is the freeing of the elemental spirit of an animal soul. This may be done by death or by complete exhaustion, either through pleasure or through pain. In this death-like trance, the spirit becomes free to wander, and is united to the invoked god. In the case of death, this is permanent, and goes to increase the body of the god on the planet. We should therefore, when we can, obtain a closed and inviolable precinct, and slay therein victims daily. In the meantime, let one of the brethren at least be reduced always to exhaustion by wine, and by the infliction of wounds, and by the ceremony itself. And if he utters oracles, let them be not consciously given, and if the true God be duly invoked, they will be divine. And this is the oracle which Jupiter gave unto Frater OSV in the night, or early morning of his day. During all this day, Frater LT is overshadowed by Jupiter. The world about him appears a vision of the future. His eyes are dilated, he cannot read. His manner is as one stupefied or entranced. The 12th working, Thursday, January 22nd, 1914, EV. The banquet restored Frater LT to a comparatively normal condition. At 9:55 p.m. Die Jovis, the temple was opened as usual. The sacrifice was offered. Frater OSV, perinde ac cadaver, and the temple closed at 11 p.m. Frater OSV was completely exhausted. Thus endeth the first series of the complete working of Jupiter. Friday a.m. There is certainly some result of these invocations, for matters move strangely. 5 people who arranged to come see me in Paris all failed, and both business letters, urgent, and private letters remain unanswered. I assume that this is the fallow period which follows the sowing of the seed. But Hermes produced instantly a direct result. I take it that Jupiter, being a slow and steady god, moves not so easily but with far more power. p.m. I mentioned this matter to Frater LT as regards letters. His experience is precisely similar to my own. The 13th working. Monday, January 26, 1914, EV. On Saturday, the drought of result broke up suddenly. Both letters and visitors appeared. All things that have occurred have been of the nature of Jupiter, but so far there has been no plentiful harvest. Not, as it were, but green shoots peeping through the earth. The temple opened at about 11:30, Quia Patris 12:30, closing 2 a.m., Die Martis. Frater OSV became inspired in a Terpsichorean manner after the Ascendant and 2 Quies. Much good force was obtained, and 2 Jataka stories. During the day, Frater LT obtained a small Jupiterian result. Frater OSV kept an appointment, which may conceivably lead to vast Jupiterian results. The esoteric record of the 13th working. January 26, 1914, began about 11:30, ended about 12:30. After the Ascendant, OSV did an inspired dance of the seductive fugitive order. After the Hod Secus, the brethren reveled in the Jupiterian atmosphere, and then in talking about this, OSV remembered he had been a priestess in what he thought was Greece of an orientalized type. LT recognized this as Crete. OSV agreed. LT saw a green figure constantly dancing around the altar. The ceremony was of initiation, this dance was the temptation. Neophytes were accepted if laughingly indifferent, or if, on the other hand, they refused to be played with, and violated the woman no matter how she struggled. Half-measures were punished by having their testicles removed by a special instrument on the principle of a candle snuffer, but with a regular cup instead of a guard. After the operation, the instrument was thrust upon the brazier, and the man was thrust into the earthquake fissure, where he perished miserably. When all the flesh was gone and the bones had dropped to the bottom, the next initiation could take place. This temple had pillars, a black floor shining like glass, mirrors to render the chase difficult. There were 3 priests, the lion mask, the bull mask, and the eagle mask. The initiate himself was the 4th cherub. These mysteries are the same, or very nearly the same, as the Samothracian mysteries. OSV had 28 handmaidens. She was dressed in silver tissues, representing the way in which the moon slips away from the sun, and then falls back into his embraces. This is the idea of the dance. OSV's name was Aya, which is really Gaia. 12 virgins were sacrificed annually, 1 a month, released on menstruation because they became impure, and so could not live in the temple. This is the great idea of the magicians in all time, to obtain a messiah by some adaptation of the sexual process. In Assyria they tried incest, also in Egypt. The Egyptians tried brothers and sisters, the Assyrians mothers and sons, Phoenicians tried fathers and daughters, Greeks and Syrians mostly bestiality. The Jews sought to do this by invocation methods, also by Pedicatus Feminarum. The Mohammedans tried homosexuality. Medieval philosophers tried to produce homunculi by making chemical experiments with semen. But the root idea is that any form of procreation other than the normal is likely to produce results of a magical character. Either the father of the child should be a symbol of the sun, or the mother a symbol of the moon. Spring ceremonies in Crete. There was a labyrinth there. They had the worship of Apis from Egypt. See Fraser and others on bull worship, Sheba, etc. There was a sacred bull in this labyrinth, quite white. At the spring festival they sacrificed 12 virgins to him. Et crudelis amor tori et supposita furto. Pasiphae Aeneid 6. They wanted to get a minotaur, an incarnation of the sun, a messiah. They said they had one, but they hadn't. LT was named Mardocles. Fair, very handsome, squarish golden beard. A very noble edition of Rudolf Syriax. Hair curled in a Syrian manner, wore chitin. OSV killed him by dancing badly. LT being initiated, OSV and handmaidens came out and danced. OSV fell in love and spoiled her dancing. LT knew what to do and couldn't remain indifferent, but couldn't be brutal. And so, at the last moment, LT spared OSV and was thrust out of the temple, but neither killed nor castrated. She was also expelled. LT and OSV went penniless and sad into a town. OSV did up LT's sandals, which had come undone. LT despised OSV for ruining his career. He had been a merchant, a very wealthy corn merchant with a very rich father, and he had given up everything for initiation. LT was a special favorite of the high priest being a friend of his father. LT was about 24 or 25, but much older than his years. LT hated OSV, but was too chivalrous to leave her. LT only cared for OSV while she danced. He felt he had ruined OSV's career as well as his own. We sat down 2 doors away from the cobblers on a stone. OSV did up LT's sandal strap. The cobbler offered to do it free. LT was so handsome. We were asked to the evening meal. The cobbler had an ugly, scolding wife looking like Billiken or the Duchess in Alice. A tiny little back room with children, including a boy of 12 or so. The cobbler wanted us to go on the staff. This was perhaps in Ephesus, a seaside place anyhow. His proposal was the only hope to avoid being sold for slaves by the magistrates. But we were too proud, and said we would be sold for slaves, and we were. A man with a country house and a beautiful wife bought us. His name like Demetrius, more like Demophorus. We were employed about the house. It was part of the ordinary duty of a servant to amuse the family by various copulations. Only beautiful slaves were chosen for this purpose. OSV died of pneumonia some few months after. Mistress a really classic type, Syro-Phoenician beauty, Grecan nose, coal-black curls, beautiful anklets, bracelets, etc. Swathed in purple nearly always, thin mouth, smile like Gioconda, but with corners turned down. The man was a fool, easy-going, rather like Bortier. All this was long before the Trojan War, very civilized, before the Greek civilization we know of, or perhaps more Assyrian or Phoenician. Asia Minor the scene of this. They used oared galleys. I shall never forget the look you gave me in the slave market, OSV. I am always unlucky for you, you know. You always have to sacrifice everything for my love. You don't want to in the least. That is because we both have hold of the wrong end of the stick. But only I could leave you, and you could love me. It would be lucky. But that has apparently never happened. Mutual indifference and mutual passion, and so on. We played instruments in Corinth as girls. Someone had white skin. LT, Chrysippe, had yellow hair, OSV. We made popular lesbian songs all day. We went on for years and years and years. We were 60 and terribly famous, like Xena and Phyllis Dare. This devotion of ours became proverbial in Corinth. We had to keep it up, exactly like a vicar and his wife in public. After 43.5 years, it got awful. Then we retired to our country estates. But we had the habit over there. We turned into old maids. We had really loved with the most intense and true passion for a year or so, and then kept it up for profit. But we were not cynical about it. We really fancied ourselves as the ideal lovers of Corinth. Incarnation about wolves, forgotten. Diana of Ephesus. We went on a mission, a business mission, of a temple nature. Not LT, thank God. There were wolves, a plague of them. The 14th working. The temple was opened on the stroke of midnight and closed at 1:07 a.m., Die Mercurii, freighter OSV being completely exhausted. The Jovian phenomena continue with steadiness, but not with such force as to enable to say that the success of the operation is assured. During the afternoon we went to the house of a lay sister, Jane Sharon, and invoked the Lord Jupiter by incense of his sacred herb, opium. This rested us mentally and physically, but caused some illness of a slight and temporary order. The 15th working. The temple opened at 11:15 p.m. and closed at 12:10, but the versicle was prolonged and very quiet, probably owing to the experience of the afternoon. Hence, the force was coherent, crescent in a flat curve, but very strong in its culmination. The atmosphere of the temple is now extremely good, not only in the ceremonies when it is mellow, rich, velvety, luminous, purple, gold, green are the chief colors, strong without violence, calm, opulent, etc., etc., but throughout the day. We are excluding loose women and the like. The principal physical things are a green chameleon, like dancer named Ahanael, 762, and the usual elementals darting about. Ahanael is under Bethor. The 16th working. The temple opened at about 10:20 after the Hod Sekus, again of the soft, steady, watery type. The god demanded blood. OSV cut a foursquare on LT's breast and offered thereof. LT then did a wonderful dance. OSV in Shivasana. OSV became inspired. The planetary spirits, by the way, are now plain to see. Next week the god demands that the image shall be placed in a vesica, and a sparrow, or if not, a pigeon, shall be slain therein before the ascendant, with the words, Nunc flavi Jovi spumantum, sanguine sevo passerum, or such other words as may be suggested by the art bachelor WD, who has been sent by Jupiter from London on this account. The blood only of a sparrow is to remain in the vesica, and to be connected, after the versicle with the Magi, by the sigil 4 on LT's heart, right breast, left breast, and navel on the 4 nights. The body is to be burnt for the last 4 nights. Both flesh and blood are to be sacrificed. The temple closed at midnight to Thursday midnight. No other blood is to be taken but the banquets, not drink save only pure water. It is to be noted that since the beginning of this operation the bank rate has fallen to 3% and consols improved from 71.5 to 76 1/4, a gain to OSV of over pounds 1,400. On Saturday, OSV received a letter which should bring pounds 500 or 500 pounds within the next 2 months. I should mention that the possession of OSV on Thursday night was the most complete and material possession, and has occurred to him most rarely. The directions were obtained with difficulty, and his whole consciousness was wrapped up in the god, the only expression being these words, Sanguis et semen. The 17th working. The temple was opened about 10:30 and closed at 12:50 a.m. February 3, 1914, EV. OSV dedicated the bird to Jupiter and set it free. During the versicle, OSV lost consciousness. After the Quia Patris, LT, the 4 cut on his right breast, was to have acted as Virgo. A marvelous matter followed, but no further rite was accomplished. At 1 a.m., Frater LT was still too exhausted to speak. OSV doubts if he did well to avoid the apparent and obvious meaning of the instruction vouchsafed last Thursday night. This should be decided by the events of Tuesday through Thursday. If unsatisfactory, the birds let loose, too, on Tuesday on Wednesday, should all four be slain on the last night of this series. The 18th working. The banquet of Jupiter began at lunch. Then we bade Brother Sir B.C. Hammond, Benjamin Charles Hammond, the good night, Godspeed. At the conclusion of the banquet, the spirit of Mars waxed strong, and OSV tear LT with bitter words, to which Frater LT, like a good brother as he is, replied with modesty, humility, courtesy, forbearance, and brotherly love. The averse Mercury also seized upon Frater OSV during the writing of this last sentence. However, the brethren embraced in the name of Jupiter and opened the temple at 10:30. A lengthy ceremony followed, the usual rite being followed by Vatem Virgo orally. The image of the Most High was thus richly adorned with due ornament. The temple closed at 1:05 a.m., Die Mercurii, the forces being completely absorbed. The 19th working. Frater OSV during the day had a feverish attack of something resembling influenza, but receiving the remedy of Jupiter from the hands of the lay sister Charon, was miraculously made whole, though the aftermath still slightly inconveniences him, he having taken the remedy in excess. The temple opened at 11:28, closed at 12:50 a.m., Die Jovis, the ceremony being most magnificent. Query: this represents the west wind as last night the east, the first night of this series the north. During the versicle, OSV saw the sarcophagus of Ankhaf Nakansu, a misty dawn of gold, at the east of the altar, erect. The ceremony raised Frater OSV from discomfort, sleepiness, and fever to the top of his form. LT gets a white elephant with the word lex, labor est, plus the phallus in its sense of the completed work. Also, Baphomet spelt Beth Pe Mem Tau, 1082. Note as two words to use mem final. Note 1081 is Tiphareth. Add 1 for the therein. No, OM. The atmosphere is marvelous, calm, and sweet, soft as the kisses of Zephyros, a perfect peace and joy. During the day, by the way, Frater OSV got the idea that Frater LT would make a perfect low comedian, and thus gain much gold. The 20th working. The temple opened at 10, closed at 11 p.m., Die Jovis. On Friday, Frater OSV got a letter making a most valuable introduction, also full of confirmation of the other matter. Praise him. Frater OSV's malady now reasserted itself, however, with great force. He has much fever and bronchitis, and is obliged to take to his bed. Today, of the moon, he is still very ill, but yet determined to continue the operation as well as he may, though with maimed rites. The esoteric record. Inspection of chakras. OSV, 3 to 5 a.m., February 8th. Muladhara, blood red, velvety, deep bell shape. Around it, the kundalini coiled, but in constant spiral motion. Luminous triangle. Mirror-like, opens at base, very small. I looked down through infinite stages of these triangles. At the bottom glitters a pearl-like, but self-luminous and most intense phallus. Presently this goes, and up the tunnel march millions of men of every race, creed, caste, and color. Not a single woman. Svadhisthana. Very large, flattish, white lotus, greenish tips to edges, very pale and fair. It floats in pale blue. Manipura. A chrysanthemum of rainbow petals, active, like folding and refolding, comprehending alternatively microcosm and the macrocosm. Anahata, mostly gold and pearls with rubies and sapphires, I think, but this fades in memory. Vishuddhi, myriad radiating knives of pure golden light in all directions. The 21st working. The temple was opened mentally by OSV at about 9:10 and closed at 9:23. In spite of all the handicap, the ceremony went exceedingly well. An excellent atmosphere was obtained, and OSV's temperature went down, 4 degrees Celsius. The 22nd working. Frater OSV is now recovered and is ungrateful enough to the doctor, an excellent and clever practitioner, to yet greater thanks to Jupiter. His temperature went down 0.3 degrees Celsius during the actual ceremony, which opened at 9:30 and closed at 10:15. This was, in some respects, the best we have done yet. Frater LT got Jupiter in his pregnant phase and went on with the mechanism of the ascendant and the preparations for the performance of the versicle before OSV had finished his hexagram ritual, done after the verbal invocation of Amun. But the Had Sekus itself was brilliant and inspired, and the result overwhelming, a glow of stupendous success. The 23rd working. Frater OSV worked very hard from 6:30 a.m. after a bad night, yet was well and strong in the ceremony, which went magnificently. At the Quia Patris he saw his shadow plainly on the dim reddish wall in the east. Although at the west there was but another such wall, and the firelight in the north was without effective radiance. The ceremony was more brilliant and ecstatic even than last night. Frater LT is even more completely exhausted than before. 3:18 a.m. Message for AG, Amy Gorod. Without pity, act. Guests dally on the couches of Mother of Pearl in the garden. Go to the holy house of Hathor and offer the 5 jewels of the cow on her altar. Then go under the night stars in the desert and invoke Nuit. Result, establishment of Nuit cult. A previous divination had given 2 days before, is not the Nile a beautiful water? The question being, should I go to Tunis for AG? Tunis being nearer the Pillars of Hercules in the ocean of the west. The Jupiterian events of a minor character are now so frequent that they are too many to record without tedium. Contrary events do not occur at all. The 24th working. Frater OSV had a sleepless night and had to work all day. Yet, opening the temple at 6:15 and closing it at 7, this great operation was brought to a successful end. The ceremony was calm and deep, the very aroma of earth in spring. After the work, Frater LT performed divination by Thelema and obtained this versicle. I am thou, and the pillar is established in the void. During the Had Sekus, Frater LT was taken by Jupiter to be his cupbearer. Frater OSV beheld the violet, formless and of dawnic intensity. P.S. Result. Frater OSV obtained the gifts of Jupiter as he asked, and was further made like Jupiter in his aspect as Amun. During the whole summer he had but to ask to obtain. Frater LT, on the contrary, became Jupiter the bestower, and many folk became his guests. A brief summary of the Paris working. December 31st, 1913, EV, preparations completed. January 1st, 1914, 1. Hermes as child. Prevents rite from completion. 2. Do as messenger, identified with Christ. January 3rd, 1914, 3. Do as force. He is semen, the vehicle of the Father. He despises talk, and is all energy and action. January 5th, 1914, 4. Hermes as. January 6th, 1914, 5. Jupiter. Short message. 6. Jupiter. LT failed at proper method. 7. Jupiter. Vision. Phalanx of eagles supporting Zeus and the 4 beasts. Also Peacock. Revelation of method of destroying the universe. January 11th, 1914, 8. Hermes. Good result. A week off. LT ill. Mass of LT ill. To forest, only profane matters considered. January 19th, 1914, 9. Jupiter as bestower with hands full of gold. January 20th, 10. Due as Amun-Ra, plumed and phallic, astral bells. January 21st, 11. Due as cone of white light, message that OSV and LT are as arrows of fire shot against the slave gods. The sacrifice was fourfold. Astral bells heard again. Revelation to OSV of the method of right, due to LT, of present world as a vision of the future. His eyes are so dilated that he cannot read. January 22nd, 12. Jupiter, no remarks, but results on material plane show. January 27th, 13. Jupiter, inspiration of OSV to dance. 2. Jataka stories got. January 27th, 14. Jupiter phenomena continue. January 28th, 15. Jupiter, atmosphere of temple now constantly rich, mellow, velvety, and luminous, even when closed. A green chameleon-hued dancer, a Haniel, and other elementals in constant attendance. January 29th, 16. Jupiter, additional rites ordained. OSV inspired. The essence of the nature of Jupiter was revealed. He obtained entire unity with the god, muttering constantly, Sanguis et semen. February 2nd, 1914. EV, 17. Jupiter, OSV, again in Samadhi. February 3rd, 18. Jupiter, complete absorption of force. February 4th, 19. Jupiter, sarcophagus of Ankh Nakansu appears. February 5th, 20. Jupiter, material results confirmed. February 8th, OSV inspects certain chakras. February 9th, 21. Jupiter. February 10th, 22. Jupiter, a glow of stupendous success. LT in his peculiar type of Samadhi. February 11th, 23. Jupiter, OSV sees his shadow, not a physical one, light thrown by the god from the altar or cubriculum. February 12th, 24. Jupiter, calm and deep, the very aroma of earth in spring. OSV beheld the violet, formless, of Dionic intensity. General result. OSV obtained the funds required, and was like unto Amun-Ra all the summer. LT became as Jupiter the hospitable, but had unworthy guests. An unexpected result. The divine end of the stick was perhaps the war in the following August. See Operation 11. Here follows the grimoire of the Paris working. Liber CDXIV is the building of the pyramid, a ritual of AA. See John St. John for sketch. Asperge me domine hippo et mundabor, lavabis me et super nivem deelbabor, per sanctum mysterium, by the figurative mystery of these holy vestments, etc., from Goetia. Orationes de aperis, i.e. any chosen as suitable from equinox or elsewhere. Tu que es hoc, thou who are I from the ship, quia patris es, for of the Father and the Son from the ship. Grimorum sanctissimium, arcanum arcanorum quad continet nondum, revelandum ipsis regibus supremus OTO, grimoium quad Baphomet 11th degree, suo, facit. De templo, 1. Oriente cubiculum, 2. Occidente tabula de invocandi, 3. Septentrione sacerdos, 4. Meridione ignis cum thuribulo KTL, 5. Centro lapis quadratus cum imagine de maxime innuentis nefandi ineffabilis sanctissimi et confero, tintinabulo aleo Virgo, stet imago juxta librum thelema, de ceremonio principii. Fiat ut in Liber CDXIV, dicitur sed antea Virgo lavabatur cum verbis asperge me KTL, et habilimenta ponat cum verbis, per sanctum mysterium KTL. Ita pyramis fiat, tunc Virgo lavabit sacerdotum et vestimenta ponat ut supra ordinatur. Hic dicat Virgo orationes de operaso. Fall 2. De ceremonio thuribuli, manibus sendit et ignum et sacerdotum Virgo descends. Exendit in nobis dominus ignum sui amoris et flammam aeterni caritatis. The holy hymns of the great gods of heaven, composed in collaboration with the art bachelor of Gualterius de R. Universitatis Cantabrigiensis, for the use of the Knights of the Sacrosanct Order of Kadash. 1. Jupiter. Had secus ac puerum spumanti semini vates, lustrat dum gaudens accipit alter aquas. Sparge precor servis, hominum rex atque deorum, Jupiter omnipotens aurea dona tuis. Thus the bard purifies the boy with foaming semen, while the other in his orgasm receives the waters. O omnipotent Jupiter, king of men and gods, sprinkle, I pray, thy golden gifts on thy servants. 2. Mercury. Jungitur in vati vates, rex inclite rabdo, Hermes tu venius verba nefanda ferens. Jointly the bard and the bard, O famous king of the wand, Hermes, mayest thou come bearing unspeakable words. 3. Venus. Tu Venus orta Marie Venius tu filia patris, exaudi penis carmina blonda precor, ne sit culpa natis nobis futuis viriles, sed caliat cunis semper amor meo. Thou, O Venus, risen from the sea, come thou daughter of the Father, hearken to the bland songs of the penis, I pray. Let it be no sin to us to have fucked the virile bum, but let the cunt always be hot with my love. 4. Jupiter Ammon. Per regni sancti signum da Jupiter Ammon, da nobis plena monera plena manu. Give, O Jupiter Ammon, give to us full rewards with a full hand. 5. Mars. Hoc solet ad Martem ritu coluis ferocem, vir purus cuni sic placet omne Deo. Hostis fac colum nostro sobisse triumpho, numina tum martis carmina seva canam. This is the right of comrades. No unmanly cunt mars it. Make us strong, O Mars, and subdue our enemies. 6. Iachus. En templo resonat nunc mystica vanis Iachi, excedas edito sancta columba tuo, intra dum vates agitat thrisum pueriles, vatis omni actum est, sancta columba veni. Approximately, behold, from the temple resounds now the mystic fan of Iachus. May you approach your shrine, holy Columba. While the prophet shakes the thyrsus inside the boy, prophet, everything has been done, holy Columba, come. 7. Vesta. Vesta beata adsis Virgo da lampada nobis, det semen dominus terque quaterque suo e, det demum lamam vitalum vimgue deorum, omnia que rediant, Vesta beata to be. Approximately, blessed Vesta be present, maiden, give a lamp to us. May the Master give semen 3 times and 4 times to his. May he give seed, a life flame in the strength of the gods. Everything that returns, blessed Vesta, to you. 8. Priapus. Semina nunc molli dat mentula sevo senato. Aspectu gaudens ipsi Priapus ad est. Gaudens exaudi nobis sit mentula semper, et rigida et roseo semen ab ore jacens. Approximately, now the grim penis gives semen to the soft catamite. Rejoicing at the sight, Priapus himself is present. Rejoicing, listen. May we always have a penis, both stiff and shooting semen from its rosy mouth. Quat stelle tot sint precor fale, amoris hujus di vere universi. Ani, 1913, EV Cal Eon ADI. General result. OSV obtained the funds required, and was like unto Amun-Ra all the summer. LT became as Jupiter the hospitable, but had unworthy guests. An unexpected result. The divine end of the stick was perhaps the war in the following August. C11.